Hi, everybody. Glad you're here with me today to listen to more of the story of Esther. And remember yesterday or the other day when we were looking at this, we realized that a villain has emerged in the story, and that's Haman. And he is actually a Canaanite, but he has risen to a position of power in King Xerxes' retinue of advisors and so on. He has risen up to be one of the main people that the king depends on. And he wants everybody to bow down to him, and most of the people do, but Mordecai refuses. And when Haman learns that Mordecai is a Jew, he decides it isn't enough just to kill Mordecai, he's going to kill all the Jews. So that's where we kind of ended, and we're starting in Esther 3, verse 8. And look how crafty Haman is. He doesn't mention Mordecai at all to King Xerxes. He just brings out the Jews and how they're a threat to the king. Kind of plays on his vanity. Then Haman said to King Xerxes, "There is a certain people dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom who keep themselves separate. Their customs are different from those of all other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will give 10,000 talents of silver to the king's administrators for the royal treasury." So Haman promises to give some money. I'm guessing that he thinks he'll probably get this money from the plunder of all of the Israelites when he kills them all. He can take all of their goods and property and whatever, and then he can give that to the king in reparation. Then, so the king took off his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. "Keep the money," the king said to Haman, "and do with the people as you please." So now remember, the king is going to make an edict and put his signet ring on it as a seal to prove that it's really from the king. And once he makes an edict, it cannot be taken back. Verse 12, "Then on the 13th day of the first month, the royal secretaries were summoned. They wrote out the script of each province and in the language of each people all of Haman's orders to the king's satraps, the governors of the various provinces and the nobles of the various peoples. These were written in the name of King Xerxes himself and sealed with his own ring." So by giving his ring to Haman, he has given him the power and the authority of the nation, really, of the king's power. And again, we're back to King Xerxes, who is kind of a jerk in this thing. He's not very smart, I don't think, and he's not really a very good leader either. So he just kind of, whatever mood he's in, that's where he goes with it, you know. And when someone gives him a little bit of praise, he falls right into it and says, "Here's my ring, do whatever you want." So this is verse 13. "Dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old, women and children, on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods." So here comes the silver that Haman thinks he's going to get. "A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality so they would be ready for that day. The couriers went out, spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa." So this was announced in the capital and all over all the provinces. And watch the end of it. It's so interesting. "The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered." So here we have the king and Haman with all this power randomly issuing this edict that all of the Israelites are to be killed, all the Jews, young, old, women, children, doesn't matter. Everybody's going to be killed on the same day, about a year from now, on the 13th day of the whatever month. So they're given fair warning. You're all going to be killed. Okay, so then they sit down and have a drink. This seems to be King Xerxes' kind of modus operandi. He likes to drink, and he drinks probably too much, and that's why his decision making is at risk. So he has given Haman a lot of power and the signet ring to go with it. But Susa, the city of Susa, all the people that are there suddenly hear this edict like, wait a minute, we've been all living in peace, and now all of a sudden, one day, a year from now, we're going to kill everybody, all the Jews? I don't understand. The whole city, I think, was confused by such a random edict. But the king is the king, and he can do whatever he wants. And to those of us that are believers, it often seems this way to us, that we look at circumstances of people that have power, and we see how they misuse this power, and there's not a lot we can do about it. And it's very frustrating and disheartening at times. And the thing that we need to hold on to more than anything else is that our God is greater than any power in the world. And that is something that we need to celebrate. We need to say it to ourselves. We need to read verses about it. We need to never forget it. We need to keep reinforcing it every day to ourselves. And a lot of songs help us reinforce this. All the worship and praise songs that we sing in church, some of the favorite old hymns, all of that, they celebrate the power of our God. And just like the Jews who, when we studied in Deborah, kept forgetting about God, forgetting his miracles, forgetting his power, we need to remind ourselves of God's power, that he is in control, even when it looks like he's not. And here, the people are bewildered by an earthly command, by the power that the king is wielding for no apparent reason whatsoever. But we know that God has a plan, and we know that God will be using his power, which is so much greater than the power that the people see when they look at the king. I picked out a song about that today. It's called Our God, and I think it's one that you might be familiar with. It's one of my favorites, and it talks about how we need to celebrate and remember how much power our God has. So it's called Our God. Water you turned into wine, open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you, there's none like you. Into the darkness you shine, out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you, none like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Into the darkness you shine, out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you, there's none like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. If our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then who could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then who could stand against? Who could stand against? Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. I hope you heard in some of the words of that song the verse from Romans that we talked about a few sessions ago that says, if God is for us, who could be against us? And that's what this song is celebrating, is that when we have God on our side, we can look long range. We can look beyond the power of earthly people, the power of disease, the power of kings and presidents and wars. We can look beyond that and realize that our God is bigger, stronger, more powerful. And his purposes will come to pass. Because the Bible tells us very clearly that God will achieve his purposes. So whatever his purpose is for you today, celebrate the fact that God, our God, is a powerful God. More powerful than Haman and King Xerxes believe. They think they have the upper hand, but soon we will find out. The tide will turn. Have a great day and enjoy God's blessings.